Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to Voices of Agora. This is a Paragon podcast. I am your host, Another Notch. Joining me today, what episode is this? This is episode 11, I believe. Episode 11. And this is going to be a huge episode, guys. Those of you listening to us on iTunes and Stitcher and all of those fun podcast places, thank you so much. Those of you watching us live in Twitch, we appreciate you as well. But guys, I'm not alone. Joining me today is my super sexy co-host, Shane Lynch, ladies and gentlemen. Shane Lynch, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Can I just say something? That we go to 11.
We go to 11.
We go to 11.
Oh.
So I'm very happy, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. I don't know how we're gonna make this like a one episode thing.
I don't know if we
It's
can.
gonna be hard.
I don't know if we can. I feel like we may need to split up into two. Touch briefly
We'll
on the
see.
meta changes, but I mean there was so much news last week. Epic was like, "Hey, we know we gave you a week off with not really giving you anything, so we're gonna we're gonna show you a new hero."
It was like if Sony did an E3 press conference, an E3 conference.
It was kind of like that. It was basically like that. I mean,
By the way,
was killer. What? Okay, so because it
Dude.
is E3, before we jump into Paragon news, favorite part of E3 so far out of the press conferences, what was your favorite part?
Horizon. Sony, specifically Horizon.
Horizon looks so good.
Dude.
For me, dude, right off the bat, the moment.
Zelda. I know it's
No.
Zelda.
Zelda for me is always number one. Zelda for me is always in my heart. Will always be number one. But because you mentioned Sony, Kratos.
7?
Kratos,
Oh, dude, that
dude.
God of War looks amazing.
Oh.
I love the style. I love the style they're going with. That instead of it being like the, Devil May Cry, kill some demons, solve a puzzle, kill a boss,
Yeah.
kill some demons, solve a puzzle. It looks much more RPG. I like the approach they're going with. Anyways, guys,
He was modeled after me. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. When I actually
Yes.
take my shirt off and I'm not on stream, I'm like 180 pounds lighter, and I'm jacked. I'm just jacked.
You guys are here for Paragon. You're not here for anything else. You are here for Paragon.
You are.
I wish Epic had a little bit more presence, but that's probably next year.
Once the game launches, I think we'll see a little bit more presence next year. But like we said, guys, huge news this week for Paragon. And the biggest, and of course, probably the most important, would be patch 0.27. 0.27. Paragon 2.0 is what I've been calling it. They changed just about all of the things
Pretty much.
in the game. They were just like, those things that were there? Yeah, they're all different now.
I think we've been calling this, Paragon 2.0 sort of thing. The game. So, shall we begin with a patented Shane Lynch prelude?
If I say no, are you going to do it anyways?
Yes.
Okay, then do it.
So, up until now, this game has been, if you've played the game, if you've watched Agora's Rising, which I know you have because you're all clever and intelligent and beautiful.
Yes, they are.
The first 15 minutes of a game, and sometimes the entirety of a game, was we called it the Death Ball, the 5-man or 4-man meta, where you just grouped up and you walked around. That was all. That existed because of card experience sharing.
Yep.
That's the only reason that particular thing existed. Everything shared card experience.
And that's been happening since early OT, guys. That's not a new thing when the game launched.
So
The Death Ball's been around forever.
Yes. With that being said, Epic has been very clear that their vision was to make this game a MOBA, not a what up until now I guess one would call a like hero, like first-person shooter with towers and creeps almost. Like It was much more that. It was much less of a MOBA. It was very muddy. Where they were going with the design of the game was very. I like the word muddy or foggy or nebulous. I like nebulous because it has a reference to the cosmos, which you know I'm all about. So,
Sorry.
what patch 0.27 did is it said, guess what? Here's our game. This is our vision. It's a MOBA now.
Yeah.
And you guys, and with that being said, you're probably asking, well, why are you saying that, Shane? That's exactly what this entirety of this broadcast is about. Why this game now, after the patch which launched 7 hours ago, depending on what time's entering, I guess. Not really, because time's, why this game is now, anyone who plays it is going to be like, oh, I identify this as a MOBA.
Yeah.
Clear, there's no debate.
100%. They made some huge changes, not only to card experience, which we're going to cover, but they also
that
made
was
some,
only one of many.
Yeah, they also made some changes to hero balance. They reworked Kalari. They rebalanced the casters. They took a lot of the passive abilities, got rid of them, or reworked them into kits. And they also introduced the first iteration of draft mode.
Hello.
And it's draft mode we've seen from a lot of other games. It's one.
Yeah.
What the first team picks one hero, and then it's 2, 2, 2, 2,
and then last
1.
Yeah.
So it's what we've seen in the past. I'm gonna cough.
Permission granted.
I'm sorry. It's what we've seen from other MOBAs. It's a standard draft mode, but it's for everybody. If you look at other games, you only get draft mode if you're in ranked play, or so they're giving us some sort of lobby format. They're giving us some sort of way to hopefully benefit your team instead of getting grouped up against having 3 tanks, a Kalari and a Grux, which can still happen if people don't want to listen. But you're now able to form your teams a little bit better. You're able to set up matches in your favor.
I see what you did there.
You're able to counter pick. You're able to do a lot of different things to actually make the game better for you overall when it comes to getting into a match. And I think it's a great first step into draft mode.
Yes.
I would like to see a quick match
yes.
without a draft.
Like an all pick quick match.
Right. I think that's something, and that's more for the casual, more for the guy that just wants to come in and play a couple games.
We won't talk about that because we for us to not make this episode 2 hours long, we really got to stay on track when it comes to this. But that's definitely something we can talk about.
I think it's definitely something we'll see though.
Yeah. Oh, I think that is something that eventually is going to be implemented.
But I think for me, what really changed the game, and we talked about it a little bit, we'll go into a little bit more detail now, is the card experience sharing. Card experience sharing. That's what I said.
Nailed it.
Before, card experience was shared between all 5 members at 100%. So it didn't matter who got the last hit, didn't matter. As long as you were in range of an enemy hero, a tower, a minion, whatever it was, the jungle camps, everybody would equally share the card experience. And they've changed that. And the way they've changed that now is if there's 2 people, the last hitter and the first assister will get 100%. If there's 3 people, the person who last hits will get 100. The next 2 people will get 50%.
Yes.
Again, last hitter is always going to get 100, but it goes from 100 for 2, 50 for 3, 33.33 repeating, of course. Sorry, for the next 3 people. And if 5 people are in a lane, the last hitter will get 100%, and the 4 people in range will only get 25%
Yes.
of card sharing experience.
Yes.
So the early game, and this is for minion lanes. We'll talk about the jungle because they did change the jungle a little bit.
This is specific for
In
minion
lane.
lanes.
This is specifically in lane. So this is 100% will eliminate the death ball early game.
Yes. Gone.
And
just
we've seen
that.
it. We saw it
Just
today.
that right there. Gone. Finito. Done with. Hasta
la bye-bye. Hasta la bye-bye.
Nailed it.
So
Hasta la vista.
what we're going to see...
What
Hasta luego, I think? I have no idea. What we're
I
going to
don't
see
speak
now...
German.
What we're going to see now is actually lanes set up in the beginning of the game. We're going to see a true jungler. And we're going to see
Now,
this...
why will we see a true jungler? You are asking yourself another notch.
Why, Shane?
Because we talked about how the card experience sort of bifurcates as you go down.
Ooh, big word.
Well, it doesn't really bifurcate because bifurcate implies 2. Anyways, jungle creep, all of them, now only grant, no matter how many people are around, only grant the 100% of the card experience to the person who got the last hit. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So no more. So Death Ball is gone, and the whole first, 4 minutes of a match, 3 minutes of a match, this whole thing of, okay, go 5-man, take the jungle, white camp, take a white camp, take a white camp, take a white camp, blue, red, harvester's lane, or any mix of that between is gone. You have now made the jungle only viable for one person.
Right.
That's it, as we saw an example of which in the game you and I played before the podcast.
We just did.
So,
We're not going to talk about that because it'll make us both salty. Because I think you are wrong, and you think I'm wrong.
yeah, pretty
So,
much.
But
Any,
this is what the confusing thing about the jungle though right now, and I think this is going to take people time to figure out, is when they changed the spawn times for camps. I don't have them off the top of my head, but we need to have you still are going to want your Muriels or your Deckers to rotate over to the blue camp
yes.
and get that buff.
Yes.
Because the jungler may not want the blue buff. It may not benefit him in any way, shape, or form. He wants the experience. He still wants the experience. So, hey, Decker, I'm about to kill this. Please come over here so you can get a buff. He kills it before she gets there.
Here we go.
They pick up the buff and they go back to lanes. What are the new spawn times on those?
The buff camps spawn at 150 seconds.
Those are your red and blues.
2.5 minutes. Prime Guardian spawns at 300 seconds. And then the white camp spawn at 2 minutes. 300 seconds is 6 minutes, right? No, that's 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes.
So way, way earlier than before.
But we're going to talk about why, because that also got some huge changes as well. So you still want to give your buffs to the appropriate heroes. Yes, you may have a full-time jungler now, but the blue buff may not favor. It may not work well on a Grux or a Kalari or whoever happens to be jungling. So you're still going to want, hey, I'm about to kill this. It's up for the second time.
You are so upset.
I'm so upset about it. Please rotate over. Please rotate over and pick it up. Shut up, Shane. Please rotate over and pick this up. Please don't get the last hit. And then you'll move on. But we talked about the Prime. The Prime Orb Guardian also got a big change as well. He now does, he pays card experience directly to the killing team. It's now each player team receives 800 card experience.
800, which is a full buff camp of experience, no matter where you are across the map.
Yep. They also did the spawn time to 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And now the person who is carrying the Prime Orb, we all know how it worked before.
This wasn't implemented in the patch.
Yes, it is. This one was.
No, it's not.
It is. This part.
I wasn't seeing it.
No, this part is. Whoever picks up the Prime Orb, their Prime card is automatically activated.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can still do. You can do a couple things. The first one is. And there's only one thing you can still do with it. You can hold on. You can hold on to it and be a jerk and not share it with your team, or you can go over and turn it in, and everybody will still be their Orb Prime card will still be activated. There are some changes happening in the future that we'll talk about here in a little bit, because I feel like they made a change that's kind of silly. But according to patch note, the carrier's Prime card is now active while carrying the orb, and then once they turn it in, it's activated for everybody.
Now, another implementation that they're going to add but did not add with today's patch,
Which is silly.
which is why we're going to talk about it here right now, is that another option which will be added, I'd imagine, I hope soon. Maybe next week with Chimera, which is another thing we're going to talk about.
Yes.
That you can turn it in on your side of the field.
Right.
At your turn in, as opposed to having to go into enemy territory.
Right.
And what that does is it respawns inhibitors. You're probably asking, why would they do that? Inhibitors no longer respawn.
They do not.
So we're gonna give you the Reader's Digest of the patch version and transition as best as we can, and we'll talk about how the inhibitors change now. Before you killed the inhibitor, it was down for a varying amount of time depending on how many times it's died. And during that duration of it being down, the entire creep wave turned into super minions.
Right.
And it pushed really hard to the point where you could just push the core and win. But it was a finite amount of time. If you could weather that storm, you could get yourself back into shape.
Correct.
Now, what they did is when an inhibitor dies, it's dead. No more coming back. There's no more coming back.
Dead
Unless
forever.
you turn in the Orb Prime defensively at your turn in. I like it because that's kind of a little bit of a comeback mechanism, right? I think that's pretty cool. I really like that overall. And instead of having an entire wave of super minions, there's one super minion and the rest. So it's still you still get an advantage. The lane will still push in your favor, not as hard. It doesn't force a response out of the team as hard as it did before, but it lasts the entire time, assuming the enemy team never turns in the Orb Prime defensively. But what's the problem right now, Notch, with turning in that Orb Prime defensively?
It doesn't. You can't. They
didn't implement it. They didn't implement. They implemented in 0.27. They implemented that inhibitors never respawn, but they didn't implement the ability to respawn them with the Orb Prime.
No.
I think that was a very large oversight.
I think it was a huge oversight.
That is especially. I hope that gets fixed very, very soon, because that's really that's the implications of that for a competitive environment, especially Agora's Rising 6. And especially now that Agora's Rising 6 is more in line than just money into the Paragon Masters.
Right.
I really hope that gets fixed soon for the sake of the competitive integrity of the game. I trust in Epic. I have 100% faith in them. I'm sure it will come. I just hope it comes much sooner than later, and specifically before the weekend after next.
So this is how the inhibitor updates read exactly. The increased inhibitor health from 35 to 4,000. Inhibitors no longer respawn, and an additional super minion is spawned per super minion wave after 40 minutes of game time. So after 40 minutes, if there's one super minion wave, that wave will then spawn 2 super minions in that lane.
Okay, 2 super minions, not one.
After no, it's only one at first.
Okay.
It's after 40 minutes, an additional super minion is spawned
that's right.
per super minion wave.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's how that one changes. But without the changes to the Orb Prime, I feel like having the inhibitors not respawn right now is kind of an oversight. But that's not all, guys. Let's talk about some more changes here. First one we're going to talk about.
We're gonna be going, guys. Keep up. Don't keep up. This is like a Woody Allen movie. If you ain't keeping up, you don't know what's going on.
You're gonna lose it here.
That's right.
First one is updated hero bounties and mechanics. Now hero kills now pay full bounty.
Sorry to interrupt. This once again puts a third dagger into the death ball.
Yes. Hero kills now pay full bounty to the killer. He who gets the last hit gets the amber.
A la Dota 2, all the other MOBAs.
Amber dropped by player now pay out to the entire team when picked up. So when the amber falls to the ground, you pick it up. Everybody on your team gets it. Yep. But you have to pick it up. But they reduced the amount of amber that heroes drop on death. Yes. So there's another one. They reduced the base bounty from 760 to 470.
About a 33% decrease.
And dropped.
I don't know off the top of my head, but that sounds like about a 1/3, maybe a quarter.
And dropped amber is worth 1/3 the hero's bounty. So major changes to bounty. So if there's a hero that's got no deaths, 10 kills, he's got a bounty on his head. And before it gave you a ton, they've definitely cut that back quite a bit.
It still gives you a significant
amount.
You
still get a lot for the last hitter.
It takes away emphasis of... It takes a little bit of emphasis off of killing people, which always like when you're first hearing that, I'm sure you're going like, ugh, but just bear with me for a second. It puts more emphasis on, ability to last hit, making sure you have a jungler, farming the map efficiently, and harvesters. Another implication of all these changes is harvesters got very, very important now.
Yes.
Because rotating they didn't change any of the numbers on harvesters, but yeah, they changed the numbers on pretty much everything that relates to card experience, with the exception of harvesters. So that just obviously is an indirect sort of puts more emphasis on the harvesters than there already was before.
Incredibly useful. Defending those harvesters, making sure you get your harvesters up at 3, 6, and 9 minutes is so important.
Let me ask you this, Notch. Did they increase the ratio of how death timers increase as the game goes? Because it feels like to me, after the games we've played, that the death timers are longer sooner.
There's nothing in the notes that says that, but it does feel that way. I will not
disagree with you. Feels like it. I mean, I don't remember being dead for 70 seconds at like 20-something minutes.
Yeah, it feels like a much longer time. I died and I was like, man, why am I not up yet?
If that was like what is it, like a shadow change or something like that? Don't know for sure. Don't quote us on that, guys. Anyways.
So they also did some big things to minions. They've reduced the number of ranged minions base wave from 3 to 1 per wave. They increased range and melee minion experience from 12 to 18. Increased range and melee minion amber from 2 to 3. 10 to 15 for the last hits. Increased ranged melee and siege minion attack range from 6.0 to 15.2 and 1.8 per level.
So, yeah.
Big range.
You said the range?
Yeah, big range increase.
So they actually siege towers now. They don't just, they actually will siege a tower and, exactly.
They reduced the siege minion health from 690 base and 15 per level to 375 and 17 per level. Increase, and that's because of the importance of laning now. A little bit easier to kill mid game, a little bit harder, or early to mid, and a little bit harder late game. Increased ranged melee and siege minion resist over structures to account for change. Updated super minion wave to include 3 regular minions, 1 ranged minion, and 1 super minion. Late game waves after 40 minutes still include an additional super minion, 2 total per lane. They also increased super minion health to account for the change. They removed melee minions' bonus resist against other minions, increased minion health from 375 to 470, and they updated the minions' movement speed to a flat 425. So minions got major work as well in this particular patch. They deal more damage to you. They're a little bit harder to kill.
Yeah. Proportionally, though, you still get the same amount of card experience out of a minion wave, assuming you lasted every single one.
If you lasted every single one, yes. If you lasted every single one,
so yeah,
you still get the
So
exact
it's
same
not
amount.
like all of a sudden Rangers don't come online at the same time. They still will,
Right.
in the vacuum of farming creep.
Right.
Because you still get the same amount of card experience. Kills, obviously, is a different story, because, again, it's not shared.
Right.
And it's less. But, yeah.
A couple things they also added were some brand new skins to the game. Up first is Inner Fire Fang Mao.
Which is badass looking.
It is so friggin' cool. The green and blue just looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wasteland Howitzer, which doesn't look... this is probably the worst recolor they've added to the game. I'm going to just throw that out there. It looks very bland. It looks very...
Yes.
The other Wasteland skins, you look at Twin Blast...
It's his Challenger skin with, like, some dirt on it. That's literally all it is.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. No one's going to pay $5 for that.
And then they added a Tier 2 skin, and it looks so sexy.
So sexy, dude. I love it. I love what they did with it. This is just a short preview of what Epic is going to be doing with skins.
Yeah, the snake
as they get
bite.
more and more experimental and just more and more, obviously, just get more out.
Yeah. Snake bite howitzer, or Murdoch skin. He's got a skull. He's got new shoulder pads. He's got a new face mask.
Like chest plate, full like chest plate.
Yeah, he's got his ammo cartridge has got a skull and crossbones on it. I mean, it is just the weapon. It's beautiful.
It is
absolutely amazing skin. This weekly card pack, guys. If you're interested in picking these cards up, Honor the Pure, Nano Drive, and Charging Brute.
Good cards, especially Charging Brute, which we'll talk about why I think that's going to be a really good card here come next Tuesday.
Which we'll talk when we get to that hero. We'll talk about it. But guys, we talked about hero changes as well. We got a large redesign on a lot of hero changes. All passives. I'm going to say that one more time. All passives have been removed from heroes, with some, not all of them. So they took them all away, and then they only cherry picked a few of them and reintegrated them into the remaining abilities of heroes. So heroes that really relied on their passive, I'm starting to see Twin Blast as one of those heroes where his ultimate is just so friggin' slow now because of the changes. Yeah. But some of these heroes that didn't get it reintegrated, I feel like they're definitely hurting a little bit. But for the most part, I know you talked about Grim being DOA.
Yes.
He's
still a ranger, so therefore he's still good.
He feels like a truck, like he hits like a truck still.
Yeah, I think they just upped it. There was a lot of shadow changes or stealth changes, whatever you want to call it, all of which have not yet been accounted for. Though I'm very confident, because I played up against a couple Grims, that they just gave him like a flat base auto attack increase.
Yep.
That made him, he's still really good. Because, dude, he was like, I saw a Grim, right, my first game, and I was like, yeah. Like,
got him.
I was like, this is going to be easy. And he just wrecked me.
Yeah.
And even ult me. I was just like, holy crap, he's chunking me and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like,
He
That's
feels
that's
very
the game I
strong
was on
still.
Gideon and I like fed a whole bunch. Anyways, we don't want to talk about it.
They also did this.
yeah.
They also did this thing where before you had to level up your basic attack, and now it no longer needs to be leveled. It levels automatically as the
Which is
player
good.
levels up.
I like that. I like that.
So the base damage now increased per level and card scaling remains the same. Fighter is 0.8 card scaling, high base damage, low base damage gained per level. Shooter is 1.0 card scaling, low base damage, high base damage gained per level. Caster 0.7 card scaling, low base damage gained per level.
Yes.
And all tanks have been reclassified as fighters. Minor changes to ability damage, mostly rounding from reclassification. So all of your tank classes, Richter, Sevarog, Steel, and Rampage are all at that fighter class. 0.8 card scaling, high base and low base damage per scaling. So a lot of changes there. They also hero health balance from upcoming left mouse button changes. Fighters and tanks have had their armor and armor pen level increased. Casters and ADCs have had their armor and armor per level slightly increased. Let's see here. And they also changed the abilities. So all abilities, your Q...
The way they level.
Right. So your Q, E, and right click used to have 5.
Now they all have 4.
They all have 4. Your
Right,
ultimate
which-
still is at 4.
Yep. No, you mean 3.
3. I apologize. Your ultimate's still at 3.
But you don't. You get it. You still get it at 5. But then you level it. Then level 2 comes at 9, and level 3 comes at 13.
Yeah.
So you get the heroes who rely on their ultimates a little bit more. Obviously, that's a big buff for them, right?
Yeah. It's a huge buff for them. So it's
the amount of time it takes to get from 13 to 15 is a pretty large amount.
right. So now instead of now you're maxed at level 15 is what that means. All skills will be maxed at level 15. If you get to level 15, all of your skills will be maxed. So now I like that as well. Now it comes down to how are you going to build?
Exactly.
What are you building first? Your ability levels.
Uncle Art, you really want that stealth. You want the dagger,
Right.
stuff like that.
You're going to build stuff sooner than you will later game.
Yeah.
And then they tweaked some hero difficulty values on the select screen. Rolls and range melee added for Richter and Grim. But then we've got a lot of changes to one of our heroes that I thought was very, 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 very strong. And they made her stronger, I believe. And that's going to be Decker.
So, let's talk about Decker.
Let's talk about Decker.
The big thing, but they didn't really touch the rest of her kit. The big thing is her ultimate. Before her ultimate, containment fence. Is it fence or field?
Containment fence.
Fence, okay. Containment fence. Had it right. Was already really good, mostly due to how Rangers were so dominant and obviously an ability to contain Rangers that then the Rangers can't shoot you, but you can shoot them and they can't go anywhere. Obviously, that's really good. It's one of the reasons why we saw Decker banned and picked a large majority of the time in Agora's Rising for, I think, the past 2 or 3 Agora's Rising. They took the strongest part about Decker, who already was a really good hero competitively,
Right.
and just basically made it even better.
Yep.
They added a little knockback effect to it. It's not as drastic as I thought it was. The knockback, if you hit the wall, it's a little bit of like a eh. It's not like it throws you across the thing like I was afraid it was going to.
It's just a tiny knockback with a little tiny bit of damage.
Yeah, that's not the bit. That's okay. But the big thing is that the allies can now walk in and out of it.
Yes.
So, which for melee heroes, that's really good. I think that's cool.
Yes.
That they're able to do that, but it's still, it's a buff to an ability that was already really good, teetering on being too good, and now it definitely spilled over into being like, damn, Decker's.
It's so good.
So there's only 2 supports, right? Yes, I can get it. Gadget considered a support, but she's not played as a support in the game competitively. No one plays Gadget like a support. She can't even be played like a support.
Right.
Anyways, at least the support that we know from traditionally from MOBAs. So they buffed Decker, who was already really, really good, and then they nerfed Muriel.
Hard.
So they pretty much just took Decker and made her. It might be too early to say this. Obviously, the best support, but like the best hero in the game. One of, if not, one of the best heroes in the game.
Let's talk
top 3 heroes in the game.
Let's talk about Muriel real quick. Well, we're going to segue into that. So let's talk about her shield value
There's not much to talk about. They pretty much just completely scaled down everything about her.
So at level 3 on as alacrity, how do you say it?
Alacrity.
Alacrity. At level 3, it would provide a shield of 640. They adjusted it to 210.
Dude.
Skadoosh.
Yes. Good. Farewell.
Consecrate ground adjusted from, we'll do the max at 480 down to 325.
Mm-hmm. That's substantial. That's
huge.
Like 15, 20%, maybe a little bit more.
This is the big one right here.
Wait for it.
Reversal of fortune.
Oh yeah, tell the music to my ears.
At
Tell me.
max level, it was 1100.
That's a lot. That's a big shield. That's a shield that makes people upset.
It's 850.
Oh yeah.
They said
Love it.
They hammered
Goodbye,
her.
Muriel. If you ever watch my stream, you know that I loathe that hero.
He does not like that hero.
For one simple principle that the design of that hero is simple and I think outright lazy.
Shots
outright
fired,
lazy.
Epic. Blaka, blaka.
I mean, there was so much they could have done.
They gave her an
make
incredible
her kit
ultimate.
a little bit more dynamic and interesting and like just overall healthy. And her kit was just not healthy. Playing her was boring to most people. Some people enjoyed her, which is fine. It's a subjective experience. Playing against her when you didn't have one was so frustrating. So frustrating.
100%. It was the worst experience in the world.
As we talk about we'll talk about commitment because that will transition into travel mode changes, right? So we'll end it with this. This game has had a problem with commitment. Okay, it's had a problem with commitment in the sense that committing to things wasn't really a commitment that much. You were very easy to just. There were very little consequences for making positional mistakes.
Right.
Obviously, there still was, but in the grand scheme of things, the amount of things you could punish because someone made a positional error were very small compared to the rest of MOBAs and really just competitive games as a whole.
Right.
Muriel was one of the problems, right? Like, oh, I just caught this Murdoch out and he's going to die. Just kidding.
Here comes a Muriel, and now I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very frustrating and everything. I'm okay with abilities like that being in the game. I think that's cool. They're in all sorts of MOBAs, but it just was too swinging. Like it was too much
strong.
of a swing. Like you literally could never 1v1 if Muriel was off cooldown.
Unless you were a huge lead in card experience.
In which case Muriel didn't matter anyways.
Right.
And that was a problem with commitment. As we transition to that.
Wait. We gotta talk about one more hero before we transition.
Then we'll talk about commitment and travel mode and stuff like that.
And guys, there's way more patch notes when we post this.
One more thing I want to mention. While I was outspoken against my disdain for Muriel's design as a hero, now that she's been nerfed, I think more than likely has been nerfed into oblivion. We don't know. Maybe she's still good. Maybe she'll still get picked a lot. But she certainly is nowhere near she used to be. And I think a large majority of the player base agrees with me that she's not that good of a hero. And certainly you have no reason to pick her over a Decker.
I will not disagree with that.
That now is the opportunity for Epic to reflect and be like, okay, let's make her kit good again, but through a pretty much like giving her the Kalari treatment.
Right.
You know, just changing the basic. I think reversal of fortune. I don't think they need to change reversal of fortune. I think they can leave it as is. To be honest, I think it's good now. It's the rest of her kit that they need to add something a little bit more exciting, a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more strategic, a little bit more fun overall. Right. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the matter. Let's move on.
I want to talk about another hero that's been nerfed into oblivion, and I want to talk about Sparrow, who I thought Sparrow was I never felt like Sparrow was super overpowered. I felt like she was very easy if you.
She was still good. She just wasn't as good as the rest of the Ranger.
And now she's just been annihilated.
So what did they do?
So Hail of Arrows, is card scaling has been reduced from 1.0 to 0.25.
Holy crap! So you pretty much have to level it now because people weren't leveling it before.
Invigorate has been renamed to Relentless. Ability has been redesigned. It no longer increases her attack speed. The passive, successive hits on the same target deal an additional 3, 7, 11, and 15 physical damage. This effect stacks and is triggered by any damage Sparrow causes. The ability now caps at 10 stacks. So
That's not bad.
but it's not. It's
I mean, 10 stacks, 15. That's an extra 150 damage per auto attack. But you have to hit him
but
10
you have
times.
to
with
hit them
something.
10 times with something. They have to be in your
Right.
rain of arrow.
That's true.
Plus
That's
being-
too much ramp up. That's too much ramp up.
Plus additionally still being shot, and
Right.
they actually really hurt her with what they've done to her. They really hurt her, but she's one of those heroes. I think when it comes down to it, there's better options in the Ranger class: Grim, Twin Blast, Murdoch.
Yeah, I was saying that Sparrow was going to be better than Grim, but since they shadow buffed, stealth buffed Grim's base auto, I think we're still very sparingly going to see Sparrow.
Yeah.
Very sparingly.
And
especially with how I think the triple Ranger meta might start to fade out of style as the teams and meta makes a little bit more of a shift away from that.
She has no lane clear now.
Yeah.
Which is the really big issue. But we did see some heroes that got huge buffs. Dude, Black Hole, bro. Oh my gosh.
Shit. Pardon my
It is so strong now. Gideon's Black Hole.
Did I say Francis? I've been watching too much Underwood. Pardon my French.
It is so strong. I was able.
House of Cards. I said too much Underwood. What? I don't know what's wrong with me.
But I feel like we definitely see some heroes that are going to be coming back into the forefront. We got some great caster changes, the increases ranges on a lot of abilities. Black Hole is so strong.
The range on his Q is like
2,000.
That's way. That is like just.
It's behind towers. If
yeah.
you stand at the foot of a tower,
without getting hit, you can literally
behind a
clear
tower.
Wave on the other side of the tower.
So good. Black Hole added an extra pull towards the center when the ability begins.
Initially. Yep.
Pull strength
and it's a pretty significant one.
It's huge.
There was a Kalari. So there was a Kalari who ulted me, and I knew it was coming, so I preemptively started casting my ult. Obviously, this was just lucky timing on my part. So I just preemptively casted my ult, and she popped up as I was casting it, recognized what was happening, double jumped away, and then went whoop, like right back
into it. Yeah,
it was awesome, and she died because it was hilarious. But I looked at that, and I'm like, the wombo combo potential of that is insane.
Ow. Oh, it's
just
massive.
Group him just like that's. I mean, Steel ult, Murdoch ult,
Richter ult, dude. We
Richter
got
ult,
3
Howitzer
kills.
Ult,
Yeah.
Rux going in there with his hung and his Q, like all those things, man. Gideon's gonna be good, and I think he's gonna. It's hard to say, but in my opinion, right now, my initial feeling about it is that Gideon's going to be the best solo mid laner.
I do not disagree with that at all. I actually am going to be making a deck and be playing some Gideon because of it. Well, I do want to talk about the rest of the changes of Black Hole here. Pull strength has been increased and normalized at all distances from the center of the ability. Removed ability confirmation and now casts instantly.
Yes.
But it no longer pulls jungle creeps. Not a big deal.
Yeah, whatever.
Amazing changes overall. A lot of heroes. We're not going to talk about them all. We're going to.
There's so many changes, guys. We got to just skim through the important ones, guys.
Yeah, I mean, all of your casters saw some changes. I feel like Grux may be in a better spot because of his changes.
He definitely is. Definitely.
Iggy got a minor nerf because of his cooldown on his turrets from 1 to 3 seconds.
He's still going to do exactly what he did before really well.
I mean, we can talk about Kalari, but I still feel like Kalari is useless. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I don't think she is anymore.
Maybe I've just played against. I've been unfortunate and played with really bad Kalaris.
I think competitively, she's gonna be much more viable than she was before.
Well, we will see. She got a massive rework.
What niche is she going to fit into? That's yet to be determined.
For me, her biggest change and her most important change is her ultimate. Yes. And the fact that she can teleport in its global presence, the fact that she gives her entire team sight
huge
for 7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That is the biggest change. Unfortunately have played with 3 really bad Kalaris today that didn't know how to play with her new kit. They didn't know how to play with her new changes, and she was just garbage mode. So I could be wrong, and the hero could be great. But from what I've seen, the hero is still crap, and it's definitely still a high.
You are making very, very.
I am.
So I would take all of that back if I were you, and I would say she's changed, and we don't know where she is yet. Yet to be determined. It's too early. Maybe the next episode we can start making accusations of heroes being that bad, but I think it's premature to say that any hero right now is like really, really bad, other than maybe Sparrow.
But
that was weird.
We go after and this is my thing is Kalari is such a bad spot, before that when you jump into a match and you just have a bad Kalari, in my mind, because we've had months and months of Kalari kind of being a bad hero, you jump in and it's like, okay, she's still bad because I'm watching bad people play her.
But that's true about every hero.
That's
though.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's different.
Hopefully, I would love to see her in competitive. I'd love to see Kalari in Agora's Rising 6.
You better believe that teams are going to experiment with her, man.
I hope so.
Teams are going to be experimenting with all the heroes.
Yeah.
All of them. Everyone has to refigure out where is everyone on the scale of
right
or the spectrum from good to bad.
Right. And we're going to see that. But that's not all the changes that were announced. We got another blog post this week. We'll talk about this one real quick. Open beta, guys, starts August 16th. And
we knew it was coming.
But they also introduced a new hero with that. And we don't have a ton of information on this new hero, but we're going to talk about it real fast. And next week, we'll probably cover her more in depth. Or him in depth. Chimera.
Oh, so good. Which I tried finding a reference towards that name. And the only thing I could find is a name there's a city in Pakistan that's called Chimera, spelled the same way. But I want to know what did they get that name? Because this hero obviously is Native American influence.
100%.
100% Native American. If you look at his model, he has feathers, the moon, which the moon in a shamanistic Native American culture was very, very profound. Was very symbolic.
He's got the beadwork on his.
It's obviously Native American based, but I really want to know, and I've actually tried asking Epic employees this. No one can answer this. Where did that name come from? Was that grasped or pulled out from some other Native American culture? Some tribe or some, tale, something like that? Because I can't find anything about that word itself, whether it's a noun or an adjective or anything.
Right.
There's chimera. There's difference between a ch or chimera. That's for mythology versus the way they spelled it. And also, a chimera is a sort of dragon in the mythology. It's a dragon sort of thing. But obviously, nothing about him represents that. He has bird feathers. He has moon. He has like that. Nothing about his character references anything to do with because that's what I thought first when I first heard. Oh, it phonetically sounds like chimera or the chimera, depending on how you pronounce it. But nothing about that hero represents that version. So I'm very interested where they got the influence of that name. I hope it's not that because it doesn't represent the character in any way, shape, or form. Anyways, that's just something I want to know.
Yeah, and that's lore, and we're never going to hear it until they decide to give us lore. Yes. He does have a really amazing kit. We've seen a little bit. Attack speed is going to be huge on this. Regeneration, every time he gets a basic attack, his health regen goes up. It's like, this hero is...
Is that good?
He's that good that I choked to death. He will be coming out June 21st.
Next Tuesday.
I'm very, very excited.
7 days from this podcast.
I'm very, very excited about this hero.
Can I say this?
Say it.
I'm officially announcing this.
Okay.
On the 21st Tuesday, I will be doing a 24-hour
Chimera stream. 24-hour Chimera stream.
24. I've already bought the monsters. I've already bought the food. I'm gonna hunker down. Cha-ching. I'm gonna be streaming that guy for 24 hours. Maybe not him specifically 24 hours, but a large majority of the time I'll be playing Chimera for 24 hours.
Can we talk about his trailer real quick?
Oh, dude, it's so good.
The little kid, stay out of the jungle.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my God. It was so good. I've heard from people who've played him over at the Berlin community event that took place that he's a tad bit on the overpowered side. And when I asked them how overpowered, they were like, do you remember Grux? And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Grux. And I'm excited. I'll be playing a lot of this hero as well.
Can we confirm his affinities?
We cannot. We have no idea. I hear growth intellect. I hear growth fury. And I hear corruption.
I hope to God it's growth fury, and I hope to God it's not intellect. Intellect does not represent that. From what we know about that hero aesthetically, intellect does not represent him as much. Obvious growth is a given for him. I think that was like, oh yeah, he's Native
instantly
American,
growth. Yeah,
like the jungly, woody, shamanistic,
right.
druidic sort of thing. That goes along with that. Fury, if you watch this trailer, guys, the dude's he's pissed off. He's pissed at something, and I think he's just pissed at everything. The dude's a mean-looking mother effer.
I've heard Growth Fury or Growth Intellect a lot, but I've also heard
Which is why Fury would represent that hero so much more.
But
and if he's a physical damage melee hero. There is like, other than Shockwave, there's maybe one other card in the entirety of all the intellect cards that you would actually use. He'd be better off being just a double
growth affinity. Yeah.
Yeah, like, which I wouldn't. I think he should be Fury. That would represent him more. But I really hope it's Growth Fury, and I really hope it's not Growth Intellect. I feel like that should be a big mistake. Not, I mean, just the entire basis upon which the hero has been built from conceptualization all the way to finalization. Why would you think that hero would be Intellect and not Fury? We have a big pissed off Native American dude who carries around, his code name was Tomahawk, and carries around tomahawks and just he's pissed.
So
like, I really hope he's not Intellect.
I've heard Apostle say he was Growth Intellect because he played him, but to counter that argument, I heard people who played him at Berlin have a conversation with Epic employees, and Epic said, "Oh no, we're changing that. That was a mistake, and it was Growth Fury that he was being changed to." So we don't know, and we won't know till Tuesday, I'm assuming, unless they give us a video of how to build him early. But I'm assuming that's going to be Tuesday. So guys, there was a couple other things. Of course, if you look at my chat right now, it says hashtag Team Murdoch.
Sparrow.
Shane is hashtag Team Sparrow.
I am.
And Team Sparrow is killing it right now. So
they are.
This is just a free skin for the community. Anybody unlocks this. The details are simple. All you need to do is support our Paragon Twitch community by watching Paragon streams using the hashtag Team Sparrow or Team Murdoch. Paragon streamers, please note you don't need to play the hero. All you have to do is have that in the title. The hero hashtag that accumulates the most viewing time over a week will unlock that skin for the entire community.
And currently, we are contributing to the Murdoch cause, which I'm totally against.
Well, you're on my channel.
But I will reach across the political table to you and say, do your thing.
Well, it doesn't matter what we're doing.
Do your thing, Pimp. Do your thing.
Because Team Murdoch is at 400 hours, and Team Sparrow is at 869 hours. Let me refresh it. No, I'm a liar. It's 592 for Murdoch and 1187 for Sparrow. Murdoch is getting dunked hard. The skin looks amazing, by the way. I like the red. Yes, it's just another recolor. I know I'm going to hear that a lot because I said it looks amazing. But it's a really cool looking skin. It's the red on black. It looks very clean. Very nice skin. So as of this point right now, Sparrow wins. But guys, we had another huge announcement.
It's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be so big. Like
I'm the best. It's gonna be huge.
It's bigger than my wall. It is huge, guys. And
Why are we giving that man any more publicity than he already has?
Yeah, we really shouldn't. Right. Up first, though, this is a touchy subject. This is a subject that I am 1,150 million support.
Welcome to the Notch and Shane Lynch are very happy about this chain show.
There's this little ability in the game. It's called Travel Mode. Travel Mode is an ability you activate by clicking Shift, or you click L2 and L3, I believe, on your controller. And then you go into this mode where you run really, really quick. And we talked about commitment earlier. I can run into a team engagement really, really quickly and be like, oh, this doesn't look good. But instead of being out of place, I'll just backpedal away and I'm safe. Well,
I'm going to try to push this tower, and I'm going to push it down and be completely by myself without any other form of escape or maneuverability. And completely get away.
Yep, 100%.
I don't have to carry wards. I don't have to do anything like that. I can just push a tower. That is so bad for the design of the game, especially when you're talking about a competitive environment.
100%.
I don't like it. You have to, if you make the decision, due to variable X, Y, and Z, I'm going to make my decision predicated upon that, and I'm going to push this lane because I think there's an opportunity to do so, and I think this is something that if I commit to it, I can get some sort of advantage for my team and get away cleanly. Not like all that. That's something you have to think about in the middle of a game while doing everything else in the game. Not, well, I'm just gonna do this and then walk away casually.
So Epic doesn't like it. They're removing travel mode, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
I'm gonna make a decision. Something just happened in chat here. Kiv just said they need to add boots, and Kiv, you are absolutely wrong.
God.
You are absolutely
that
wrong.
That would be the same thing. It would just be a card that everyone has to get.
That's my issue with that.
Like everyone just like maybe if there are different types of boots or
No.
thing, but still that would take away from diversity.
No.
You have to get this card, this certain type of card. Or I actually don't like it in Dota. I've never liked it since I played it in Dota. Anyways,
I hate boots in every game I've played, and this is the reason. You take a card, you take these heroes that have these unique ways to build their kits right now, and they're able to purchase cards, and then you're going to instantly say, hey, we're removing travel mode. But I'm going to give you a card that if you don't buy it because you don't like it, you're at a disadvantage against everybody else on the enemy team who's going to buy it. It's such a stupid freaking mechanic. They do not need to add boots because it takes away your ability to build your hero the way you want because you automatically have to buy boots.
Let's pull it back. We're getting emotional. We never get emotional on this show.
I always get emotional.
So do I.
Always.
Because people are asking in chat, well, then the game's going to be really slow. What are they replacing?
Okay, now they're
And guys, just so you know, we haven't heard everything about the next. So I'm assuming the travel mode has not been taken away yet.
It is not.
We know that it's going to be taken away at some point in the future, and that they're going to implement other means of traversing the map in a way that doesn't make the game feel sluggishly slow.
Right.
One of them they introduced was Notch.
Teleport.
One of them. That doesn't mean that's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm
not saying I know what I'm talking about, but
I don't know how I feel about travel mode.
There's other things that can be done in the game besides that will make the game not super sluggish.
I don't know how I feel about this teleport thing.
Yeah.
I personally don't like it. Depending on we don't know anything about it. Other than
cooldown. It's a 90-second cooldown.
So we know that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, that gives you can go to some other place. You can move it over to a tower and defend. 90 seconds is if you mess up, if you don't calculate that 90 seconds properly, if you act too early, it could end up hindering you. I do not like the teleport thing.
Really?
I don't.
I love it.
I don't like it at all, actually.
I love it. I love it.
But that's because I haven't.
You haven't played it yet.
I haven't played
it. Here's the thing. You haven't played a MOBA where teleports are a thing.
I have not.
On Dota 2.
I've played a little bit of them, but
I
not
came
enough.
from Dota 2. I literally have, I think, like 6,000 hours of time played in Dota 2.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm good. I'm just saying I've played it a lot.
Right.
Those two are not synonymous.
They're not.
Though I am pretty good. I was pretty good when I played. Anyways. I almost qualified for TI once. That's a lie. Don't believe me. Or was it? I don't know. You tell me.
Go on.
I bought a compendium, so that means I almost qualified.
You were almost qualified. You were almost. He was almost EG, boys. Almost EG.
Anyways, I like it, and I think once you get your hands on a Notch, you're gonna like it because again, it's all about that commitment of when I commit to this teleport. You have to take in consideration: is this the best given thing I need to do right now? I have to look at all the variables and figure out what is the best choice at this given time. AKA, that's called strategical thinking. That's called critical decision making, which is the basis of a competitive game. That's one of the things that makes a game deep. That is like the main reason why Hearthstone is such a in-depth game, is because you have to take so many things into consideration at the same time, right? Like, other than that, you're just slapping cards down and hitting other stuff. Like, mechanically, that game has no mechanics. It is literally entirely just strategy and decision and critical thinking. When you add that to a game in a healthy way like this, overall, it's good for the competitively. It's good. I like it. Though, yes, there are certain things about it that need to be done right. Cooldown. They have to make sure the cooldown's not too long, not too short. It's in a good, happy spot. They have to make sure that it has... I mean, obviously, like, what would be interesting is if you channel it, the only way you can interrupt it is if you use some sort of crowd control, but I don't think that would be good right now because there's not enough crowd control in the game to make that good, because then people would... There's only very few forms of crowd control that would make that possible.
Right.
I think if there are more heroes in the game with more consistent... if you could consistently get more heroes on your draft that allow you to interrupt it, then it would be cool to see that. Like people TP out in the middle of it, 4 HP with 3 people hitting on them. They go back to base. Like that would be really cool as far as playmaking stuff. But I think right now the game's not ready for it.
Right.
How long of a channel time is it? Stuff like that, and all of these things are going to be answered into the future. Knee-jerk reactions. Nothing. Everything is just how everyone's. It's all pure speculation and pure knee-jerk reaction.
100%.
Right.
I fully
which right now we're just speculating. We're not having really a knee-jerk reaction. We're just speculating about the certain things. What I really don't like is the knee-jerk reactions that all of these social mediums, aka Reddit, have a propensity of doing. And
You're killing the game.
It fuels this fire that is doing more harm than good. Wait until we have more information before you start making uninformed opinions on something.
You know what I want to see? We'll talk about this all. So what I want to see happen is, I love the map we currently have. I want a smaller map. With the removal of travel mode,
I can see that.
Possibly no teleportation, I would love a smaller map.
No, because you got to think about scaling of the jungle. The jungle is already like you know what I mean? Like they would have to scale the jungle down. That would really skew with the scaling. Not a new map, but a rescaling of the map. Maybe I could see.
I feel like it's
maybe make the lanes a little bit shorter, both horizontally and vertically, or not horizontally and vertically, but both in width and length.
Right.
I guess that would make sense. That would be an interesting change. Anyways, we're kind of going off on the deep end.
But
we don't know.
Those are other things, right?
We have no. Yeah, this is all speculation.
Another thing they're also doing is they're adding something called a pod, power on demand modules. These are deployable and destroyable objects that will let players access the shop from anywhere. But watch out where you summon it because it can be killed. So,
do they extrapolate on what happens if it gets killed or anything like that?
They don't. They just say
there needs to be something really put. If they make it like it's really hard to kill, but if
you kill it,
but if you do it, like that person loses the cards that were in it for like 6 minutes or something like that, or
man.
they can't spend card points for 5 minutes or something like that. That'd be really cool.
It's basically Dota 2 carrier.
Now,
what is
it? Does it fly across the map and come to you, or is it land?
I think it just lands next to you, but it's basically that. So you have. I mean, I personally, one of the things I hate about MOBAs, and I've hated this for a long time, and this is one of the reasons I actually liked Heroes of the Storm, is I never felt like I had to leave the battlefield and I could still always participate in team fights.
That is one thing Heroes did really well. You're right about that.
And so I loved that. And so the fact that I have to back, and yes, there's a lot of strategic play in this. When do I back? How do I back? Is this a good time to back? Could I lose this tower? There's a lot of strategy that comes into that. But the fact that I won't have to leave the battlefield as much, we don't know if it's going to refresh mana. We don't know if it's going to refresh health. We don't know if it's going to refresh harvester keys. All we know is that you're able to purchase from it.
And that right there will solve a lot of people's concerns of
travel mode being
removed. You'll be able to stay in lane much. You won't have to go back to base as often, right? So that's obviously is a way of dealing with the potential negatives of travel mode being removed.
Right.
Another big question is, does it refresh pots? That's what I don't know.
That's a huge one. Does it refresh those things?
Which we'll know in the future. If it does, it'll be super good to have. And how many can you have? Is it only be like one per team? Like only one person can use it at a time? Can everyone have each individual one? Like there's a lot of. I would like to see only one can be used at one time. It had obviously give it a cooldown of some sort. And make it refresh pots.
Yeah,
I would really like that. I think that would be cool. But also, it would be. I mean, there's different ways to go about it.
Right. We talked about these changes a little bit. We talked about the Prime Orb changes, but we'll mention them a little bit. They've done something silly right now with the inhibitors not respawning.
Yeah, that was a little frustrating.
But they're going to implement something to where you can defensively capture, and that's what I'm going to call it. Because you go, instead of pushing offensively to their end, instead of pushing offensively to the enemy side of the map and capturing the orb, you retreat back to your turn in, you turn it in, and it will instantly respawn your inhibitors. It's not implemented yet, which is very, very silly. And I think it was an oversight on Epic's part for this because inhibitors don't respawn. But there will be some counterplay. There will be some things coming that make that a little bit easier to deal with if an inhibitor falls. A lot of counterplay coming with that Orb Prime. So I mean, Shane, the changes and the blog posts and all of the stuff we got this week. I know you've had a little bit to play. I personally have had a little bit to play. I want to know your thoughts now that we've discussed those. What are your thoughts?
the adjectives that come to mind after playing, I think I've played 5 games, like 4 or 5 games, is that the game feels much more deliberate in the sense that heroes fit into a certain role, and when you go into Agora, you know where you need to be, where you excel at.
Right.
Like right away.
Right.
Like, oh, this guy has a teleport and wave clear. He's going to be good in the solo lane. Like this guy's, has Grux has an AoE sweep in front of him, and a thing like he can clear waves and stuff like that. So I think deliberate is a word coming to mind. I don't want to say slower. The games have still been ending in the same amount of time for us now.
Right. Yep.
I've still been I've either been losing or winning, one more than the other, in about 30 to 45 minutes, which is about how it was beforehand. It's the early game feels a little bit slower in the sense that you aren't at card level 15 or 18 in the first couple minutes, but it's much more strategic. And most of all, and I think everyone will agree with this, difficult. Much more difficult. You have to be hitting your last hits. You have to be making sure your jungle rotations are efficient. You have to be making sure that your wards are where they need to be, or else you're going to get bodied. You have to make sure of all of these things, because if not, you're going to get punished hard. And this is even without the removal of travel mode. When travel mode gets removed, that's even going to be more. It's going to get jumped up even more, because you won't be able to push a lane in and haphazardly walk away because you're in travel mode. You're going to have to think even more about it. So I think the game is much, much more difficult in a sense of that it's a MOBA. It's not. It's much more difficult if you look at it in terms of I just want to kill people. The things in which you have to do to gain a lead are much more difficult to obtain than they were before.
Right.
Which means you have to be more strategic. You have to outthink your opponent. You have to outplay your opponent more than what you did before. And I like that.
I think we're going to start seeing also some early game variations to builds.
Oh, and sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine. You go ahead.
Also, it's added variety. It's added much more variety and diversity to the game as a whole, from the way captains of teams can approach it. Laning configuration, draft composition, jungle rotations,
right.
Overall strategies, stuff like that have just shot up in potential.
Yes.
3-1-1, dual mid lanes, solo mid lanes 2-2, a 1-1-1 with 2 roamers looking for ganks. Before it was just 5-5. And now the potential of different strategies and different ways to play the game have opened up exponentially.
Yeah. I think we'll also see
exponentially.
I think we'll also see early game builds. I think we'll see heroes who are now building cards 2-1-1, 2-1-1-1. We'll start to see, and then sell those off the mid to late game. Because yes, the early game can feel a little bit slow now. I'm not going to disagree on that. But overall, I feel like the changes have added another layer of strategic gameplay to Paragon that we have not seen.
Yes.
It makes decisions way more important. It gives the jungler, there's now a clear defined role for the jungler. And I know some people were saying, and yes, it's day 1 of the patch, and there's people running down and they're killing jungle camps when they shouldn't, and they should leave that for their jungler. That will all eventually get worked out, guys. It's the first day. That
still happens in Dota 2, and that game has been around for literally more than a decade.
But it'll get worked out. And this is the thing, though. It's not like a jungler is going to be in any trouble, because he can just run to a lane where there's only one person, get the last hits, and make up for the amount of little bit of a card experience he lost at that point.
And don't forget, 2 people in lane
still get 100%.
100% of the experience.
Right.
So it's not like they are relegated to the jungle 100% of the time. It's just that's where they thrive. That's where they're more efficient. That's where it makes it much more efficient to put someone in the jungle and open up another lane, someone else somewhere else on the map, so that way you're getting the full benefit of the shared card experience, because after 2, you get diminishing returns.
And I think we're going to start seeing the importance of the ability to last hit, which we don't really see now. There's no real outplay potential. The guy that's going to be able to last hit better than the person in front of him is going to give himself that advantage. So we're going to see a lot more outplay potential, and I think we're going to see it more.
It's much more mechanically demanding.
Right. I think we're going to see it much more when it comes to the tournaments we've been running. But I'm excited to see the outplay that we're going to be able to see across teams. I feel overall, we've used the word, I'm going to use it again. I feel like we got a very muddied Paragon. We got a game, Paragon.
A Paragon.
We got a game
It's
that
a parody of Paragon. That's what it was.
we got a game that I feel like they were giving us the skeleton of the game. They let us see this absolutely beautiful world and these amazing characters they've created. And now they came out and said, okay, you've got all of that. Now this is what our vision is. This is what we think of this game. And we're going to show you how it's going to work. And with the changes today, with the 4 games I've played today, the game feels so much better.
The number one thing for me, which makes me much more excited and conversely makes me much more upset when I make misplays, is getting kills it's just much more like I earned that.
Yes.
Getting kills, it's rewarding. It feels much more rewarding when you kill someone because the tempo of the game is different now.
Right.
At least in the first 10 to 15 minutes, the tempo and the overall just way you play the game is so much different that getting kills feels much, much more rewarding. Though when you die, like I was streaming today, I was like, son of a brother, like.
I think there is a
I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. When you get people's emotionals, when people become emotional about a game, even if it sometimes is maybe a little bit more negative than positive, when you get people connected to the game emotionally, you have found yourself a player in the long term. Good job on you, Epic.
I think Last Hitting needs some love though. Now that it's more important. Damage is, especially coming from minions, is very sporadic, I feel like. And timing that last hit in lane is not always the easiest thing.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it to a certain degree. But when I'm watching a minion's health and it's like, okay, he's taking this certain amount of health and all of a sudden it spikes because one extra range minion turned for some reason and started hitting him.
You have to look at how many range minions there are and try to time it. That's how it is in Dota.
I feel like it's too sporadic. I'm just going to throw that out there. Maybe that's because I haven't dealt with it and I'm not 100% used to it yet. But right now I feel like last hitting is a little bit too sporadic. But overall, I think we got some really good changes. I think we're starting to see a clear picture of what Epic wants Paragon to be. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for what they've shown us so far. And
I do agree with what Solo Dynasty said. Is that the overall movement and the aiming, like the aggro of the minions doesn't really make sense sometimes.
No, it's too sporadic.
Is there a like underlying function or algorithm that says like, oh, if A happens, then the minion will attack B target? Because right now the only really one that we know for sure is obviously if you would hit a hero, they might automatically aggro to you, which is a standard MOBA thing. But like I'm just sitting there in lane, like just queued up, waiting for an auto attack, and all of a sudden it just won't take damage. And they'll be like, oh, okay, I'm going to auto-attack it. And then it starts taking damage again. It's like, what? It's so frustrating.
I saw this one, which was irritating, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to attack the ranged minion in the back to know I'm going to secure that last kill. And then for some friggin' reason, all of the melee minions ran forward and killed it. And I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, like the aggro on them.
It's the aggro of the minions that throws me off.
Weird. Yeah, I agree with you there.
That's what needs to be changed, is that. But that affects the last hitting because their aggro is so wonky at the moment. So I think we'll see that changing. And I'm excited to see what new builds we see people doing.
I was hoping new cards came out today, but at the same time, this patch was so big, I feel like putting new cards into the game might have been a little overboard.
Oh my god, it would have blown people's heads up.
But I think we will see some new cards. My intuition and instinct is telling me that we'll see new cards.
I think we'll see them next week. Yeah.
If not with Chimera, then maybe like the next moderate size patch after that.
Yeah. So guys, I want to do something we haven't really done here. I want to open this up a little bit to the Twitch chat. Do you guys have any questions for us about changes?
Call us at...
Oh, I wish we had that. I wish we could get people on.
75
309.
Well, y'all don't know the area code though, so.
But if you guys have any questions, please ask. And Shane and I, who are not in any way, shape, or form affiliated with Epic, we're just two players. We will give you our input. But does anybody have any questions? We're only gonna do
not me, but you used to be able to say like, "Oh, I know what's going to happen."
Not anymore.
Because you went there and saw anything, but you saw what we've hit as of this patch today.
As of Chimera,
Notch no longer. Yeah, as of Chimera, Notch has no idea what's happening from here on out.
I have no idea what's going on.
That's where that's what they were at in the development when Notch went there. So all the secrets he knew are now completely declassified, And now we have nothing to. This is pure speculation, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. Beforehand, Notch would just,
Rub it in.
oh, well, I don't know.
With the new scaling, do Rangers seem like they're hitting for less damage? Early game, yes. Mid to late game,
Yes.
not at all.
Their scaling got changed early game, which
But I'm okay with it. But it's 100% outplay. It's about whoever can level more effectively. But late game, no. Rangers are still a freaking menace.
Team Murdoch stream. El Rey, it's not up to me. As I said earlier, I said this early in the podcast. I am reaching across the table and supporting Notch in his channel. But philosophically, hashtag Team Sparrow.
Let's see what else here. Are we excited for AR6? I think the
no.
I cannot wait to cast AR6
at all. It's gonna be so boring and nothing new to talk about. And it's
Death Ballers like Team Fortress are going to hit a wall. No, I don't. I think we're going to start to actually see triangle formation.
Triangle formation, not Team Fortress. You said Team Fortress. I was like,
I'm sorry.
Fortress.
Triangle formation. I feel like triangle formation is going to be just as strong as they were.
Uh-huh.
Thoughts on drafts?
With their decision-making ability, and now teams are going to have to rely even more so on critical thinking and their decision-making capabilities than they were in the previous patch.
Yeah. So thoughts on draft. Pros are it's a draft mode. I love being able to build my team. I was saying during my stream, I have to start learning how to play support. And because I don't play support, but if I need to fill that role, I want to be able to. But I like being able to build my team for what's needed. I like being able to see, okay, we have this and this. I'm going to play this role or fill this role or do this. I think it's going to bring a lot of, much more balanced matches than we've seen in the past because we're going to be able
Once everyone gets over the hype of new heroes, everyone has been first picking Kalari.
Yes.
And, which is fine.
Right.
Because it doesn't really matter right now because there's duplicates. You know what I mean? It matters in the sense of on your own team. That's the one thing that I'm a little concerned about draft is it is going to force negativity within your own team, not across both teams. Because if you're sitting there and you see the opponent pick a Kalari, you don't care. You're like, and you want to pick Kalari, you're like, oh, whatever, I can still pick Kalari.
Right.
But if you're in your own team and you want to get Kalari, right, and you're like, hey, team, I want to play Kalari this game, and someone goes, screw you, and then they pick.
So I will say,
and that's gonna make you like, ah, and you know what I mean, like it's. But once the hype goes away and people start to work together a little bit more when it comes to draft, I think it'll be good overall. It's given, I'd imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'd imagine it's giving Epic good numbers, good raw data. They love that raw data they can take and look and
I think
things and shape it, and it comes out a beautiful rank system.
I think match fairness will improve. I think the matchmaking times are so much better than they were before.
Oh, dude, so much better.
So much better. Let's see. Do tanks with tanks now scaling as fighters? I play mainly tanks, and their scaling feels fine. They deal a little bit more damage, especially Richter. Holy dear God, balls!
Dude.
He's so strong, but he still scales perfectly well as a tank.
Yeah. I could see some builds on
Devil
him.
Gorilla. There's no such thing as ELO. If you're using websites like Agora or Fury.gg to look at your ELO,
literally imaginary.
That's an imaginary number.
Imaginary.
Created by
that
two
ELO
websites.
is as real as that imaginary friend that you may or may not have
100%.
or had.
100%.
It's literally, it's cute and it's cool, but Notch, you and I have talked ad nauseum about.
It means
our
absolutely
opinions on-
zero. It means nothing at all. Stop using those websites.
That, with that being said, we're not saying that the matchmaking system doesn't need improvements. It absolutely needs improvements.
100%.
100% needs improvements. We're not saying that at all. But we know for a fact that Epic is working hard on that. And again, our confidence is quite... We have a lot of confidence that there will be a healthy matchmaking system and a good rank system that come out of everything. Completely on the shoulders of us just getting in and playing the game and giving them the data. Give them the friggin' data. Play the heroes. Play the game.
The matchmaking needs to be fixed.
Play your heart out.
But looking at those websites, say, oh, this guy's diamond and I'm gold. If depending on what website you're looking at, we don't know what metrics they're tracking. We don't even know what Epic tracks to determine the internal matchmaking rating of players to set up matches. So we can't say those websites are accurate. The matchmaking needs work. Matchmaking needs a lot of work.
Yes.
Yes, we were sponsored by
But
Fury.
it's early access, so it's not like that's a bad thing. It's early. When you get an early access, this is what you sign up for, guys.
Uh,
This is what that's like going into a restaurant that isn't finished being built yet, or like doesn't have chairs yet, and you're like, I can't sit down. Like, then come back when the restaurant's finished.
we
Like,
were
like, what do you think is gonna happen? Like,
we were sponsored by Fury for AR 1 and 2, but not because of the ELO. It was for different reasons. It was one, the website.
We should probably end the show for the audio listeners, by the way.
Well, I think well, that's why I'm kind of repeating them. The prime changes. Someone was asked future prime changes, Shane, with the ability to turn it in and respawn inhibitors. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great. I just wish it needs to be implemented. You can't. They half measured it.
Yeah.
They half measured it. It's not even half measured. They just literally halved it. Like they only put like one part of the feature and the other not. When those features are so tightly bound together.
Yeah.
That it seemed very. I'll use a nice word. Odd.
It seems stupid. I'll use a bad word. It seems stupid. It was a stupid decision on Epic's part to implement one change and not implement the other change.
But we say that word with the utmost of love.
I say it with love. I'm not.
I was going to say asinine.
It was a stupid decision to not implement both.
Said asinine, 9 asses. No, gross, Shane. Yeah.
I feel like it's a dumb decision on Epic's part. I feel like and it was more probably an oversight. They're like, oh, we were gonna do this, but that's not coming today. I feel like it was a decision that was not fully calculated and thought through. Inhibitors not respawning today at this moment in time is dumb. Once they had the ability for me to capture the orb prime and turn it in. At this moment in time, without the ability to capture the orb prime, I feel like it's not a smart decision. How's that? Whatever you're eating over there, buddy. Once they add the ability for me to capture the orb and inhibitors respawn, then I feel like it'll be better.
Yeah.
But we are going to end it on that, guys. I do want to say thank you to everybody in the Twitch chat. Thank you for asking those questions. You guys are fantastic. Those of you who are listening on the podcast, if you guys want to be involved in this stream, please tweet us your thoughts about the current patch, what you think is going to change, what you're excited for.
Team Sparrow.
That's not it. What you're not excited for, using our Twitter page at Voices of Agora. If you want to get in contact with us on Facebook, you can. It's also Voices of Agora. If you guys have anything you want to show off in AR6, any video reels, art, whatever it may be, Agora's voice at gmail.com.
Sonnets.
Music. We'll read sonnets.
You won't. I will.
You will.
No, you will. I'll give you the opportunity. This is why I'm not going to let him read.
I'm dying.
You sound so much better, man.
I feel so much better today. But guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please head over to iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're finding us in podcast format. Leave us a review. It can be a 1-star. We prefer the 5 stars, but and any awesome feedback. Shane, let the people know where they can find you and give us some closing words, my friend.
Twitter.com/ITG Shane Lynch. Twitch.tv/ITG Shane Lynch. Voices of Agora right here. Agora's Rising 6 coming up the weekend after next. It's going to be by far the best. I mean, just even minus the great games, which we had some really good games.
Holy crap, dude.
Dude. That Team Oxygen version. Oh, my God. That game was so good.
Holy crap.
I literally had my heart pounding on my chest after that. Like, oh, one more. I'll just hit the auto attacks. Anyways. Yeah, you can find me there. And I'm going to end it on this notch. After I finish this statement, you can close out the show. I won't say any more. YOLO, Bay. Your swag is on fleek.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was the last episode. Shane Lynch will be joining us on Agora's Rising. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you guys want to find me online, you guys can find me twitch.tv/another notch, 6 nights a week, streaming Paragon. I stream it all the time. Casting this little tournament we run called Agora's Rising 5, or Agora's Rising. You can find me on Twitter at Notch Plays Games. You guys can find me on Facebook and YouTube at Another Notch Gaming.
I look at the Cialis guy.
That's awful. I do want to take a minute, though, and I want to say I had some personal friends affected this past weekend. And if you're listening to this and you're from Florida, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. If you know anybody affected by the events that took place, we love each and every one of you.
I will say one more thing on that. For those of you who don't know, I am a paramedic. And those things, I'm speaking strictly on behalf of the first responders who valiantly perform their job as well as they could in that situation, support them too,
100%.
because they are going through something that even the most well-spoken person, even the best orator, even the person who knows all the nice words to describe something, cannot explain the amount of profound, life-changing, crippling sadness
Yeah.
that not only the families also have to bear, but those first responders have to bear as well.
So
That's all.
our thoughts and prayers, if you pray, then pray. But our thoughts and our hearts
Go donate blood.
go to
I already
donate. They go out to everybody
Go
in
donate.
Florida.
I already did.
Everybody that was affected by this tragedy. And I know it's awkward for a gaming podcast to do this, but like I said, my good buddy here, Shane, was a paramedic. He had friends who had to deal with some stuff. I've had some friends that were affected with it.
I knew about it before.
And
I was up all night that night because I had old friends calling me, just in really bad shape. Yeah.
so
Anyways,
first responders, anybody that was affected, guys, our hearts are with you. We love each and every one of you guys. Again, thank you guys for listening and always supporting this this amazing game, this amazing community, this show. We love each and every one of you guys, and we will see you next time in Agora.